You know that moment where everything's technically done? The dinner's made, the kids are alive, probably screaming in the other room. You even remembered to fill up the water bottle for school tomorrow. And yet somehow you've got that nagging feeling in the back of your head that you're forgetting something, or maybe it's something even deeper, like you feel like you're failing. Maybe you sat down after bedtime, you're scrolling on your phone, and instead of just feeling calm, you feel like your brain starts wandering and asking, did I do enough today? Was I present enough? Am I enough? In this episode, we're going to unpack that nagging, invisible guilt that kind of sticks to us, even when you're doing everything right. You're going to walk away with 3 questions to help you move through the guilt and start living from self-trust instead of self-doubt. Welcome to Everwell Mama, the podcast where moms drop the guilt, have more joy, and live in a way that feels right, without burning out or missing out on the good stuff. I'm Siobhan Bingham, a holistic life and wellness coach, mom of 2 littles, and your no-guilt guide to living with more ease, joy, and confidence. Today is all about answering the question of why do I feel guilty even when I've done my best? And by the end of this episode, you're going to understand where that guilt is really coming from, and you'll have 3 clear tools to meet it with compassion instead of shame. So the very first thing that we need to talk about is what guilt actually is. We've all experienced mom guilt in one way or another, but you need to understand first and foremost that guilt is an emotion. It is not something that is logical. So yes, you maybe have done everything right, and you're wondering, why am I feeling like this? You're not going to be able to logic your way through an emotion. Guilt is emotional programming. It's something that is a part of our nervous system. It is a part of our feelings. And so it can't just be logicked away by telling yourself that everything's fine. And a lot of the time, this emotional programming is something that's just intrinsically been passed down into us. And this can be through conditioning, through your culture, through your family, and the modeling that you had there. And it can even be through things like the media. Think about how many TV shows you watched when you were growing up, where the good mom was always really selfless. And you heard people say things like, you should feel really grateful and enjoy every moment. Don't just be tired all the time. And until you actually take the time to pause and really look at where all of these conditions have impacted you and how you are viewing your life and your world, not much is going to change. And no mindset hack is going to fix this. To really make you understand what I'm talking about, I want you to kind of imagine you've got this report card in your head. And you've got some boxes that are checked off. You did great. You've got the excellent. But there are some boxes that have been unchecked, things that you haven't done, things that maybe you need to improve on. And no matter how many A's or E's or wonderful things there are, your head is going to scream louder about the maybe D's or F's or things that didn't get done that day. And that's just the way that we're programmed. We're programmed to notice the things that are missing versus the things that are there. Imagine if you are going to pick up your keys and they're not where they normally are. You're going to notice that they're not where they are, more so than noticing that they are in a new place. That is just the way that our brains work. But back to guilt. Remember that guilt is an emotion, and so guilt does not equal truth. Just because you feel guilty about something and your brain starts to tell you things like, you shouldn't be doing this, how could you, you're not a good mom, if blah, 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 blah. None of that is actually the truth. Guilt is actually just some data for you. It's a signal in order to tell you to pay more attention to something. So I'm going to give you a quick little 3-step tool to just kind of check in with yourself when that mom guilt starts to creep up, so that you can really decide what the guilt is telling you. You're going to ask yourself 3 questions. The very first question is this guilt Or is this grief? Now, guilt is going to be something like, I did something wrong. So maybe you snapped at your kids. Your guilt is going to tell you, I did something wrong. And yes, absolutely, we should not be yelling at our kids, but things happen. Sometimes we are stretched too thin ahead of time, and really, that exact example is the grief, because really you're saying, I wish it could be different. I wish I hadn't snapped at my kids. I wish that I had taken the rest that I needed ahead of time so that I could have been more present in this moment. Do you see the difference? The second question that I want you to ask yourself is, whose voice is this? When the mom guilt creeps in, is it a parent's voice that's telling you that you did something wrong? Is it a former boss? Is it someone that you really admire? Is it some other mom on social media? Noticing that it is not your voice that is saying it, and noticing that piece of what the guilt is actually trying to show you are going to be two amazing steps in order to get you started. The last question that I want you to ask yourself is, what would compassion say? So instead of saying, I did something wrong, I'm a terrible mom, I'm too selfish, and whatever other things that you're saying to yourself in order to shame yourself, I want you to speak to yourself as if you were talking to your kids or you're talking to a best friend. If they did the exact same situation, what would you say to them? I bet you it's going to be a little bit kinder than what you might say to yourself. And no matter what the answer to any of these questions is, I want you to really think back to your own personal values. When that guilt is surfacing, ask yourself, is this aligned with the life that I actually want to be living? Because often I see in myself and in my clients that this isn't necessarily the values that you hold dear or the life that you want to live, but it's the life that you think you should be performing because of that conditioning and those examples that you've seen on social media, on TV, in a book, anywhere. And so I really want you to reflect on your values, ask yourself those questions, and then think about, what is your life going to look like if you started to live from a place where you can trust yourself and the things that you're telling yourself, rather than thinking that you have to prove yourself. So instead of thinking that you have to prove yourself by volunteering to help out with your kids' dance costumes, what would happen if you could live from that place of trusting that you don't have the capacity to handle that right now and you're going to have to say no? What would your day-to-day life look like if, instead of trying to push yourself to do all of these extra things that you are getting this twinge of guilt from, instead you're really reflecting on where you are and trusting in yourself and your own decisions? End off today, I'm going to leave you with a little reflection question. What is one moment today where you can say to yourself that this is enough? I am enough. If this episode resonated with you, I would love it if you could send me a heart emoji in my DMs on Instagram. This is the exact kind of work that we'll be doing together in my upcoming group program. We are going to be releasing the mom guilt and building trust in ourselves, in our values, and in our lives so that we can really enjoy the good stuff without burning out.